Good morning and welcome to the launch of the 2013 It's in Your Hands campaign. We are delighted to be involved with this project to raise awareness of occupational dermatitis in the workplace.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Lummis. I'm the Chief Executive of the British Safety Industry Federation. We're here today to talk about the relaunch of the It's in Your Hands campaign. It's in Your Hands was originally launched in 2006 and at that time was a very successful campaign in reducing workplace dermatitis. And we have gone on and redeveloped it and are now relaunching it today into the market. You'll see that we have a very wide range of supporters for this campaign, including the TUC, Safety Groups UK, the Institute of Occupational Medicine as examples of supporters of this. And we'd also particularly like to point out Deb and Polyco, who are our commercial partners in this and have actually put an awful lot of work and effort into developing this new campaign. Why are we relaunching it? Well, a little later on I'll be talking about the number of new dermatitis cases in the UK reported each year, but it is about 40,000 new cases each year are reported. And unfortunately, one of the problems with dermatitis is it's one of the few kind of diseases that people think, well, you just get a skin rash. But the reality is often you have to completely change your lifestyle. It affects you so much you cannot continue to do the same role you did in the past. Maybe you have to leave work entirely. It is a major change to your lifestyle. So it is very important that we get this message out and that we control dermatitis. This campaign is in fact going to be part of the Health Risks at Work campaign that is being run by Safety Groups UK Limited, Safety Groups UK. So what we would like to do is to start off by having John Cairns make a small presentation on the Health Risk at Work campaign, on where that is up to now and how that fits within it. So at this point I'd like to hand over to John.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Health Risks at Work was an initiative that started back in 2009 in Scotland. It was a joint initiative between Safety Groups in Scotland, the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents, an organisation called the Scottish Centre for Healthy Working Lives, which is part of the NHS, and HSE. The four organisations were prompted to get together to try and come up with a simple way of raising awareness of health risks that workers were being exposed to. The campaign was then launched for England and Wales this time last year in this very same theatre and rolled out throughout England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Safety Groups UK is facilitating and coordinating the campaign, and this campaign is designed to take a lot of the complications and difficult to understand language out of occupational health risks, and it is relevant to every organisation from SME up to multinational, but particularly for SMEs. So these were the main stakeholders in Health Risks at Work. We started off with a work package, a DVD and a workbook, and that's now expanded and grown arms and legs. The background to Health Risks at Work is, as I said earlier, to raise awareness of major occupational health issues. We all talk about safety and health, and there tends to be a lot of focus on safety. Health sometimes tends to get pushed to the side a little bit because it's not a sort of dramatic cause and effect. If you're on a building site and a brick falls on your head and you're not wearing a hard hat, you immediately know the effect of that brick. You're going to suffer some damage. But some of the occupational health issues are long latency. They creep up on you. They take a number of years to gain potency and have an impact upon your life. But once you have an impact, that stays with you for the rest of your life. To put it in perspective, in terms of fatalities, industrial fatalities at work, the figures typically running over the last few years are a bit under 200. If you compare that to people who are killed whilst driving at work, It's almost double the numbers. It's over 400 people killed whilst driving at work. If you look at people who actually die as a result of illness that they've been exposed to and taken on whilst at work, the numbers get to be quite dramatic. You're looking in excess of 12,000 people dying through illnesses that they've been exposed to or that they've got at work. 12,000 compared to a couple of hundred. Whilst the couple of hundred fatalities are very sad and tragic and have an immediate effect on their families, the bigger number, the 12,000, is one that's more difficult to attack and to raise awareness of. You then look at that, comparing it to injuries. 1.1 million injuries at work, 2.2 million cases of work-related ill health. And when it gets down to the bottom line, there's over 26 million work days lost. And the basic cost can be 3% of GDP. So it's got a huge financial impact upon the UK economy. So what did we do? After doing this workbook, we decided to refresh the whole initiative, and we came up with a very simple DVD. This is called Introducing Health Risks at Work, and it's free, available free of charge at the Safety Groups UK stand just down the exhibition hall there. This DVD lasts for about 8 minutes, and it paints a picture and gives some basic information on the main elements of health risks at work. The DVD is multi-language. It's in English. It's not in Scottish, but it's in English. It's in English, it's in Chinese, it's in Urdu, Punjabi, and Polish. So there should be something there to that all members of the workforce should be able to relate to and use. Following on from the DVD, we then have the major workbook, and this covers the main areas of health risks at work. And this is the main workbook here. Contains an extended DVD, and then it has a workbook that takes you through all the basic elements that you need to know for the 5 main areas of health risks at work. Again, these are available free of charge. None of this costs anything. It's there to raise awareness. It's there to try and raise the bar and knowledge of health risks at work. Again, these are available. If anybody would like them, please come and see me. We'd like people to cascade this information out into their own organisations or their own particular industrial segment. All of this information has now been put online, so you can go and download as much of this as you might need from www.healthrisksatwork.com, and that'll take you through the detail that you might require to give you future knowledge and awareness. To back this all up, we have the Safety Groups organisation. Safety Groups UK is a charity backed up by ROSPA. It's in partnership with HSE. We've got over 70 industrial safety groups the length and the breadth of the UK, so you'll find a local safety group in your area. Again, please visit the safety groups. They usually have a monthly meeting. It's very informal. It's for networking. It's to raise knowledge and to share best practice. Safety groups have been on the go for, some of them, 70 and 80 years. So it's a long established structure throughout the UK, and it's of benefit to anyone involved in safeguarding workers' health and safety. So the major occupational health issues that health risks at work covered were things like respiratory diseases, skin diseases, cancer, damage to your muscles, bones and joints. I don't even want to get into MSDS because we're taking the long language out of this. Occupational deafness and stress, to name but a few. And here are the things that we've actually concentrated on. So the risks that are identified, we don't talk about respiratory hazards. We talk about risk to your breathing. We don't talk about dermatitis. We talk about risk to your skin. We don't talk about MSDS. We talk about risk to your muscles, your bones and your joints. Risk to your, we don't talk about audiometric testing. We talk about risk to your hearing and touch. We don't talk about stress, but we talk about general risks to your well-being. It's all been put into language that everybody can understand. So the 5 main areas of health risks at work, as I've said before, are these particular ones. Today, what we're doing is we're revitalising the It's in Your Hands campaign, because health risks at work, the initiative starts you on a journey, but you need to have the information that you require for your workplace. The It's in Your Hands campaign provides additional information that will be useful to you in terms of risk to your skin, and also raises awareness about risks that can be associated with cancer from sunshine. We don't tend to look on cancer coming from those areas, particularly in countries like Scotland, where, we tell the truth, we don't get a lot of sunshine. But we're fair-skinned, we've got red hair when we had red hair, and we're very prone to getting these sort of cancers, so we have to raise awareness that even in places like Scotland, where there's a limited amount of sun, you're still getting exposed to the rays that can cause you skin cancer, and you need to take the requisite steps. So why partner with It's in Your Hands? It provides SMEs with the guidelines they need to reduce the risk of occupational skin disease in a very simple and easy to use format.
So, It's in Your Hands campaign was launched in 2006, and its main aim, as it clearly says in here, is to reduce workplace dermatitis. What in fact we did was we produced very simple, easy to understand guides on how you can prevent dermatitis. And I think that's the frustrating thing with dermatitis, is it is just so preventable if you actually take the right actions to do it. It was a nice simple guide. Initially, we focused particularly on two main areas, the hairdressing industry. Actually, there was kind of this myth in the hairdressing industry that you weren't really a hairdresser unless you'd actually had dermatitis to some extent. And we were able to expel that myth and explain to people that, you know, you could prevent that. You could prevent the problems that mainly caused. And we also worked in the motor car aftercare market, mechanics and finishing, to improve the understanding in that area. And more these days you see mechanics who actually suddenly have much cleaner hands than they used to have, are perhaps wearing gloves where maybe in the past they didn't do that. We have been able to make a difference. So why relaunch? What's that all about? Well, let's just look at some of the reasons we're doing this. I'm not going to read these out, 40,000 new forms. Probably the most interesting one here is, actually this accounts for 3% of all working days lost. John just gave us the figure, 26 million working days each year are lost in the UK. 3% of that, well, just under a million days are lost a year by occupational dermatitis. Something that is just so preventable. That is the frustrating bit about it. If you look at the Thor scheme, interestingly, whilst that reports 73% through contact dermatitis, this is a very worrying figure. 19% of the courses of the reports through the Thor scheme actually were for skin cancer. And I think we would all be extremely concerned by that sort of number. What do the Europeans say? Well, in a report by EADV, the European body, they're saying that in fact it's the second most common cause of occupational ill health, costing Europe about £5 million a year. So it is again a serious problem that needs to be addressed. And then last but not least in this one is a further report from EADV saying that it is a major problem into this marketplace. Why the frustration? Well, let's put it very simply. Actually, if we weren't so stupid in the marketplace, you can prevent this problem fairly easily. It is just a question of ensuring that the right message and the education is given to the people who are exposing themselves to workplace dermatitis. There are easy ways of preventing this. I indicated before that we've updated this scheme. We've continued with the simple guideline format, and we've continued to try and produce a leaflet that is very easily read by people who are exposing themselves, not by very senior safety officers, not by people who are perhaps very knowledgeable in this area, but actually by the workforce themselves. And there is a poster that goes with it that is just a nice, simple 4-step, take these actions to prevent workplace dermatitis. I mentioned before that this is a very well supported scheme. It is interesting how organisations such as the HSE or the Cancer Skin Organisation have come on board. British Occupational Hygiene Society, Institute of Occupational Medicine, Safety Groups UK, TUC. Everybody realises just how important this subject is and how preventable it is for the future. So it is very important that we move on to that. What have we done? Well, we've updated the statistics on the incidence of skin diseases. We've come up with ways of avoiding dermatitis and skin cancer for the future. Particularly, we've added in skin cancer because that is a growing problem. And actually how you consider it and how you can implement it into the working place, which is very important. What I'd now like to do is to hand over my colleague Phil, who is actually going to run through some of the detail of the course content with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Phil Spark, the Marketing Director from Deb Limited. And we're going to talk you through the contents of the brochure. We've seen lots of pictures of the brochure. The brochure is actually here and can be collected at the back when you leave the briefing session. As David and John alluded to, we have linked the campaign In Your Hands with the health risks at work and expanded the campaign to include skin cancer. I think all of the bodies involved recognise that occupational dermatitis alone and skin disease, we needed to recognise the effect that skin cancer has on the workers in the workplace. What I'd like to do is just talk you through some of the content of the brochure and talk you through a little bit about steps that can be taken, people should take and people should look for when recognising occupational dermatitis and skin cancer. So if we talk about who's at risk of occupational dermatitis or skin disease, well, potentially everybody's at risk in every environment, but some are more susceptible than others. If you look at some of the professions that could be involved or at high risk, David's already mentioned hairdressing. Let's think about mechanics, engineers, the nursing profession. Does anybody ever take the nursing profession into consideration? They must wash their hands more times than anybody else in any environment, up to 20 to 30 times a day, and use sanitizers on top. So they're a very high-risk operation there. Outdoor workers, workers who work in the cold, workers who work in the hot environments. So potentially everybody's at risk, and everybody should be aware of the situation and what's actually happening. Skin contact, occupational dermatitis, skin cancer. It's not just about direct contact with the skin. It can be caused through indirect contact also. If you think of a mechanic, and I'll show you some slides in a minute, mechanics wash their hands on a regular basis, but what's the first thing a mechanic does when he's got dirty hands or he's taking his gloves off? He gets a rag and wipes the rag on his hands. What does he do with the rag? He puts it in his pocket. Transfer from the clothing through onto the skin. All of these things need to be taken into consideration when looking at risk assessment. It's not just restricted to the hands. The brochure talks you through the things to look for with regards to occupational dermatitis. What does it look like? Does anybody recognize those pictures? That's the sort of debilitating disease that this causes and does change people's lives. It actually stops people from working and doing what they want to do. Imagine being a sports car mechanic and you can't actually pick the spanners up anymore to be able to repair the car. It's just, it's horrific. And it's not just restricted to the hands. As I said before, it can be legs, arms, buttocks, anywhere on the body. So when we talk about the employer's legal obligations with regards to skincare, these are driven by COSH and the Health and Safety at Work regulations. And the guide brochure talks you through this risk assessment process. It talks about eliminating the risk. It talks about consultation. It talks about cooperating with the employer. Let's make it easy for the employees to wash and cleanse their hands. Let's not make it difficult. Let's make it a habit for them rather than trying to force them to do it all the time. It's changing people's mindset here. It's not, you must wash your hands. I want to wash my hands to get my hands clean, and give them the tools and the facilities to be able to do that. What are hazardous substances? Well, hazardous substances, most can be easily identified when you do a risk assessment. People tend to put large stickers on now because we've been driven by legislation, irritant symbols, hazardous symbols. But look out for other things that can cause it as well. Allergic reactions. Everybody is different. People have different sensitizing effects on the skin. So we need to carry out thorough risk assessments. Control measures. The brochure talks you through control measures, what you can do to control occupational dermatitis and trying to prevent occupational dermatitis. Introducing safe systems of work. Provision of PPE. You notice that we're talking about PPE. We're a skincare company. This isn't about Deb providing a skincare system or selling a system. This is about us getting involved in changing people's mindset and changing the culture in the marketplace. Get people to check their skin. How many people actually check their skin on a regular basis? How many employers encourage their employees to check their skin? We talk about safe working distance. The first thing you can do to prevent any occupational skin disease is stop people from coming into contact with the substances. So introduce safe working distances. Change the substance, change the product, change the ingredients. If this means introducing gloves as part of a safe working distance, then introduce the gloves. You know, we've worked with Polyco on this brochure, and they've given us some really good guidance and advice. The second stage is to protect the skin. It's about adequate control. It's about skin control. It's about skincare systems. It's about providing appropriate products for the marketplace. Provide appropriate protective clothing. And remind them to wash after they've had contact with contamination. Quite often people will have contact with contaminated products and then leave it till the end of the day to wash their hands. Why not encourage them to go and wash their hands straight away and then come back into the workplace? It's not always easy, but it's part of a risk assessment. And PPE and skincare are an essential part. Get people to regularly check their skin. These posters are available for download from the Health and Safety Executive site. You know, how many employers have these in their washrooms, encouraging people to check their skin on a regular basis? What to look for in the signs of occupational dermatitis, itching, dryness, redness of the skin. All of these easy recognizable things. And if somebody does get it or sees that on the skin, send them off to go and get it checked. If you haven't got an occupational nurse, encourage them to go to the GP just to get it checked out. Don't leave it to build up and build up and build up until it gets too late, and then the employee is actually disabled then. You can't do the job. They can't continue their employment. You know, it encourages employees to do the right thing. This is about doing the right thing. And then we come to skincare. It's about a good skincare provision. Make sure you've got the right products that are suitable to do the job. Look after the skin. Encourage people. Introduce a hygiene system. Get your skincare provider to come and do training sessions for you. Get them to come and do toolbox talks for you. Any good skincare provider should do that free of charge for you without any question, because it's about training the employees to use the products in the right way. And also make sure that they're used cost effectively. Pre-work creams. In our business, we talk about a 3-step system. All of the bodies involved in the production of the In Your Hands campaign have approved a 3-step system: a protect, a cleanse, and a restore step. And we talk you through the steps in the brochure. So if you need more information on it, the brochure has it in there, and it makes recommendations. It doesn't recommend any specific company. It talks about using a protect, cleanse, and restore stage, a 3-step system. So step 1 is a pre-work cream. Why do we want a pre-work cream? Well, really, what we need a pre-work cream for, it's not a barrier cream. There is no such thing, I believe, as a barrier cream. Nobody can offer to protect your hands for 24 hours a day by rubbing some magic cream into your skin. It just doesn't happen. We want a pre-work cream to make things easier. We want to make it easier for the employees to wash their hands when they finish the work. If you need protection, use pre-work cream and gloves, the combination of the two, but make sure the pre-work cream is suitable for use under gloves. Simple, It's not rocket science we're talking about here, but these are simple processes and simple procedures that people can follow. And if you can get the cream, make sure it's perfume-free and dye-free, because you've got less allergens in the product then, which potentially can react with the gloves and people's skin. Skin cleansers. We talk about using sealed cartridge systems. How many people here have been into a washroom and found a bulk fill system that they wouldn't want to wash their hands with a soap in it because it's crawling with bacteria and mold inside it, the dispenser's all dirty? Use the hygienically sealed cartridge system. Cost effective in use. Don't use white spirits with salt and sugar in it, or gloop out of a bucket and put some sand in it. That's just not the right thing to do. Talk to your skincare provider and use the mildest form of skincare cleanser you can get. Don't just jump in at the deep end and say, right, we need the strongest one you've got because it's really dirty. Start with the mildest product. If you've used a pre-work cream, you can get away with using a much milder product, which will allow the employees to clean their hands more effectively and be at less risk from harsh substances in the products. Typically, you'll find that very, very strong hand cleansers have a lot of solvent or delimonene in the product, which is very harsh on the skin. So use the mildest cream possible. And encourage workers to dry their hands thoroughly. Quite often, workers will go and employees will go and wash their hands, rinse their hands off, rub it on their clothes, and off they go, because it's speed. If we've got the right products and processes in place, then people have time to wash and cleanse an after-work cream effectively in a timely manner. After-work cream. Essential to restore the skin's natural oils and moisturize the skin afterwards. We work a lot with the healthcare profession, and even trying to get nurses in a nursing environment to use an after-work cream is very difficult because of the speed that they're working at and the cost effectiveness of the system. But it's essential. It's essential that you look after your skin and restore the natural oils after you've had hand cleansers on your skin or after using gloves. We talk about gloves, and I'll put my hand up. I'm not an expert on gloves. There are some experts in the audience, but we've taken some guidance. Make sure the gloves match the substances. Make sure that they've got the appropriate AN numbers. Consider the size of the gloves. If we put our hands up, we've all got different size hands. Not one size fits everybody. We've all got different hands. And that's an essential thing when it comes to hand washing as well, making sure that you get sufficient product to effectively wash your hands in one wash and not have to press the dispensers 3 and 4 times. I guess my comment on this and with skincare would be, if your glove supplier is up to the mark and up to the standard, they should be advising you and giving you advice and guidance on the type of gloves that you need for your environment. Ask them. But also get the workers to try the gloves as well. See if they're fit for purpose in terms of dexterity, in terms of what they're doing in the job and how they manage themselves. We would advocate, and we do in the brochure, that you don't reuse gloves unless they're for extended use. And please, please, when you're using the gloves, put them onto clean hands. Don't put dirty hands in the gloves. It's just not right. But these are all simple things, and these are all steps that the In Your Hands brochure has brought together. Use a cream that's suitable for use on the gloves. Very important. Make sure it's compatible with the gloves, and we'll check with the glove manufacturer and the cream supplier to make sure that it does cover both. And finally, the latest update that we've brought to the In Your Hands campaign is about skin cancer. We felt it very important to include. We're seeing a rise in the number of cases of occupational skin cancer, particularly in the marketplace, outdoor workers in particular. Everybody's at risk from UV exposure from the sun. And it's very important that we take this into consideration. There are 125,000 new cases diagnosed every year and 2,746 deaths, which could be prevented. John talked about the latent effect. This is another latent effect. If we start doing something now, we'll probably start seeing some effect in 5 to 10 years' time. We won't see an immediate effect overnight, but we'll see it over time. And outdoor workers have a higher risk of developing skin cancer. That's a pretty obvious statement, but how many employers actually protect their outdoor workers and give them guidance? Skin have told us that we should be applying sunscreens when the UV level gets up to a level of 3. Any higher than 3, you should be putting a sunscreen on. So even on a cloudy day, you should be applying sunscreen. And a little story, I attended a conference not 2 months ago, and we presented something on skincare and sun creams. And the health and safety manager from a large building organisation said, we didn't buy any sunscreen last year. I said, well, why not? He said, well, the sun didn't shine, so we didn't feel the need to buy any last year. And it was just kind of, what? It was unbelievable. Absolutely crazy stuff. Employer obligations with regards to skincare and occupational dermatitis are exactly the same for skin cancer. Refer to the Health and Safety at Work Act and the COSH regulations. You need to advise your employees. You've got a duty, employers have a duty of care to the employees to advise them and train them. Give them health and safety training, when to protect, how to protect themselves. Drivers, vehicle drivers, how many people would think lorry drivers, long distance lorry drivers, van drivers would be at risk of skin cancer? Most vehicle glass will block UVB, but it won't block UVA. How many people have seen a long-distance lorry driver that has a suntanned red arm and a white left arm? That's because the arm is beside the window. Skin, if you go to their website, have got images and pictures and photographs of people who've driven vehicles who've got skin cancer down the side of their face as a reflection from the glass coming through the vehicle. It's quite frightening, and the numbers, they're doing more research on that, but it's another one that's one of these latent effects. And it's something that we need to be aware of, and the brochure goes into the detail. That's why we've decided to include it this year. Employee advice. There's employee advice in there, and there's more advice on the Skin website. But it's about shade. If people can work in the shade, it's not always possible, but if they can work in the shade, if they can cover up, wear a broad-brimmed hat, keep the shirts on, keep the jeans and workwear pulled up, protect the skin. Apply sunscreen, but apply it 20 to 30 minutes before you go out into the workplace. And if the UV factors rise, then reapply every 2 to 3 hours. But apply the cream before they go into the workplace. This is all the guidance notes that are in the skin brochure. And above all, check the skin. Check for melanomas, because it's vitally important. Skin do melanoma checks. We've had them into our premises to give talks and done free checks on all of our employees. And it's vitally important that people do get them checked. And if they do find something that looks a little bit strange, then take medical advice. Go and get it checked out. And the brochure talks you through and shows you the different types of evolving moles that people can have on the skin. That's all I'm going to go through in terms of the brochure. There's a lot more detail in the brochure, and there's a lot more information behind. If anybody does want any more information, then we're around today on stand F90, which I believe is down at the bottom, and the safety group stand, which is J80. If anybody has any questions for us, we'll happily take them. We've either done a great job or everybody's very shy. No? Lovely. Thank you very much.